if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking. Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
Let me just follow up here.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this. You talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C., and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The President of the United States, you'll get him out of bed, you'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you'll say, come on down to the office, let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
Mr.
Those
President,
people are killing many people, unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you because it really brings us this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowing that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
say
sarcastically. You know that.
Do you keep up with the news,
Tiger?
Tiger?
By a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about it. An election is fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls, and we have to have it. We have to have borders, and we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically. And these people are trying to get them to vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them Republican.
No judge looked at it. They said we didn't have standing. That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The president of the United States doesn't have standing.
I'm looking
That's
things
how we
up
lost.
that they're mentioning.
If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you do a special on it, I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you. We have so many facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by a whisker, so he still believes he did not lose the election. That was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Where?
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States.
When you feel tired, you go on Google News?
World leaders are laughing at Donald Trump.
You don't go to sleep?
I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace.
Damn.
And when you then talk in this way in a
other.
presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament.
What do you mean?
Or the ability to not be
What do you
confused
mean you're going to stop responding?
about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve
What do you mean?
better.
I don't go
give
Google
you 1
News
minute to respond.
on my free
Let me
time.
just tell you about world leaders.
What do you mean?
Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men. They call him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart. Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said,
You're
because
joking?
you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that. But he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look, Viktor Orban said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president, but when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but I'm okay with it because
your time is
I think we're going to do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now to the Israel-Hamas war and the hostages who are still being held, Americans among them. Vice President Harris, in December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how, saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent
whenever
civilians.
He started, like,
you said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Did you close your eyes?
Let's understand how we got here.
5 seconds?
On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis, many of them young people who were simply attending a concert. Women were horribly raped. And so absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters, because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers.
Yeah, same.
What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately, and the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that.
Ukraine's still going.
Work around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and in equal measure for the Palestinians.
Yeah,
but the one thing I will assure you always,
it's
I
older
will
than
always
the
give
Ukraine
Israel
war,
the
right?
ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up. Far worse than people understand what's going on over there.
They both suck.
But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one.
Actually.
She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror. And they are spheres of terror, horrible terror. They had no money. It was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well, actually. They had no money for terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation, and now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around.
Kennedy back from the dead.
Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
That's absolutely not true. I have my entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again, divide and distract from the reality, which is it is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself. It is well known that he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un. And it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear. They can manipulate you with flattery and favors. That is why so many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is why we understand that we have to have a president who is not consistently weak and wrong on national security, including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
They're the ones, and she's the one that caused it, that's weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week, said, I hope she wins. And I think he meant it, because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me.
Didn't he just say he's close with Russia?
The leaders of other countries think that they're weak
and now he's saying
incompetent, and they are. They're grossly incompetent.
He endorsed her last week?
And I just ask one question. Why does Biden go in and kill the Keystone Pipeline and approve the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over Europe? Because they're weak and they're ineffective. And Biden, by the way, gets paid a lot of money.
Thank you. We have a lot of issues to get to.
We'll be right back with much more of this historic ABC News presidential debate from the National Constitution Center right here in Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
You're going to jail.
The ABC News presidential debate will continue after this.
Dang.
This PBS News presentation is made possible by
Consumer Cellular. This is Sam. How may I help you? This is a pocket dial. Well, somebody's pocket. Thought I'd let you know that with Consumer Cellular, you get nationwide coverage with no contract. That's kind of our thing. Have a nice day.
And by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
There's so much divisiveness in this country.
Heightened tensions.
You just have to choose a side. You automatically have to hate the other side.
Deep divisions.
It does get heated. We have big fights.
And a stark choice.
We will make America great again.
We are not going back.
Judy Woodruff brings together citizens from across the spectrum. Crossroads, a conversation with America. September 23rd at 9, 8 Central.
Who's Sam?
Good evening, I'm Amna Nawaz.
And I'm Jeff Bennett. On the NewsHour tonight.
The PBS NewsHour, your source for news you can trust, asking tough questions.
Should Democrats supply their votes if it means avoiding a government shutdown?
Well, right now, it's very much in the hands of the Republicans in Congress to be able to do just that.
Russia right now has you outmanned, outgunned. Is it time to think about negotiating a settlement?
I'm ready to negotiate now with people who really want peace.
Covering events as they unfold.
How long will Norfolk Southern maintain a presence in East Palestine?
As long as it takes.
All the homes are gone, all the buildings are gutted.
What goes through your mind when you see fire that close to your home?
Oh my God, am I gonna die?
From Capitol Hill.
And even by the standards of this Congress, the drama and the stakes for this week are perilously high.
To around the world.
8 soldiers died in the second deadliest attack on Israeli forces of the war.
What's your message to the Ukrainians who had to live through occupation?
I thank them that they survived through this.
Exploring political divides.
Have you tried to have a conversation with some of the folks who have a different view on these issues?
Oh, yeah. They've been pretty interesting.
Highlighting issues across the country.
You've got larger groups, more people coming across and more remote crossings. What does that mean for your team?
It makes it incredibly difficult for us to respond.
Examining nationwide controversies.
How does this election cycle make you feel in one word?
I was about to...
Focusing on issues that matter.
I was about to cram 3 posts for the 5 p.m. due earlier. Do you think I can finish this long?
As we expose more shorelines,
what are PSCTs?
More dust, and that's
toxic 59
dust.
deadline.
Yes. There is arsenic and heavy metal in this lake bed.
Committed to arts and culture.
U2 is either the most honest and committed band.
Wait, affiliate? Yeah, I got
or
affiliate.
The most
problem.
And, self-righteous.
No, not self-righteous. And that is the NewsHour. For tonight, I'm Jeff Bennett.
And I'm Amna Nawaz on behalf of the entire NewsHour team.
Yeah. You can finish it. You can finish it. It's like, what, 10? You can do it in an hour and a half? Oh my God, what the hell was that? That scared me. That scared me. Thank you, lass. What the heck? Y'all need to stop spending your money. I'm gonna take that away from you guys. I swear.
The influence of Leonardo's vision was enormous.
Thank you, lass.
He's doing things no one had ever done before.
I was looking up what troll farms were because I was not educated like that. Try if you can. Okay, I'm gonna try.
Coming this fall.
I'm gonna try. The troll farm or troll factory is a...
The Choice. A frontline tradition for over 30 years. Critics have declared it richly detailed, completely riveting, and perspective on events that don't succumb to the news cycle. The Choice.
Were you gonna watch the debate last?
Tuesday, September
I'm lost, so I don't know.
8 Central, only
I
on
pulled it up
PBS.
because Tiger was talking about it. How long do the ads usually take? Can you subscribe?
From the National Constitution Center
Can you
in
subscribe?
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Here again, David Muir and Lindsay Davis.
Welcome back to this historic ABC News presidential debate tonight. We're going to continue here, and I want to turn to the war in Ukraine. We're now 2.5 years into this
now they're
conflict.
talking about
Mr.
the Ukraine
President,
war.
It has been the position of the Biden administration that we must
2.5
defend
years?
Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir
That's been
Putin, to
so
defend their
long.
sovereignty, their democracy, that it's in America's best interest to do so, arguing that if Putin wins, he may be emboldened to move even further into other countries. You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight.
24
hours? Do you want
hours?
Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being uselessly, people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin, hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left,
why are we streaming Trump?
Unfortunately left because our
Tiger
country
was
has gone
talking
to
about
hell.
the election.
But after I
and
left,
I've
when
never
I saw
watched
him
an
building up
election
soldiers,
before.
he did it after
It's
I
my
left.
first time.
I said, oh,
this is my
he
first
must be negotiating.
time
It must be a good,
voting.
strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't.
I was
because
curious.
Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's... Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
they
here...
threw him out of a campaign
Actually, I don't even know
like
if Tiger's
a dog.
still here.
We don't even know. Is he our president?
Okay, where's the
But we
ace?
have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
Tiger brought up the election. I got curious.
Just to clarify the question, do
He
you
said it was
believe it's
funny.
in the U.S. best interest for Ukraine to win this war, yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
All right.
Negotiate a deal.
But he
because
didn't
we
choose.
have to stop
Does he
all
want
of these
Russia
human lives
or Ukraine to win?
from being destroyed.
I want to take this
He
to
just
Vice
keeps
President
talking
Harris.
about
I want to get your thoughts
lives.
on support for Ukraine in
He
this
didn't answer the
moment.
question.
But also, as Commander-in-Chief,
Yeah, for
if
real.
elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin? And would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me. I believe
he wants
the
the war to
reason that
end.
Donald Trump says that this war would be over
okay.
within 24 hours is because he would just give it up.
For real?
And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here.
I see.
I actually
about getting
met
this war
with
to stop.
Zelensky
Yeah.
a few days before Russia
like it's too-
invaded, tried through
We should just
force
get them
to
in a
change
UFC,
territorial
like-
boundaries, to defy
What's
one
it
of the
called?
most important
UFC ring?
international rules and norms,
Get the presidents
which is
to
the
fight
importance of
themselves.
sovereignty and territorial
Make them fight
integrity.
amongst themselves.
And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine
sir.
in its righteous defense.
Okay.
And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are
Look at
no
his
longer
faces.
president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to
I have
fight
no
for their
clue. You see
independence.
him? He's like-
Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in
smug.
Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Damn.
Vice President Harris, thank you. We've
Eat
heard
you
from both
for
of you on
lunch?
Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan
That's
came up
crazy.
in the last hour. I wanted her to respond to something you said earlier, and please, I'll give you a minute here.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow, quiet please. He would have been sitting in Moscow,
explain, please?
much happier than he is right now. But eventually, you know, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe
from
he hasn't
buying
been that
oil
threatening,
from Russia.
But he does have that. Something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes
How
to
do
talk
they
about
stop
it.
them?
But just so you understand, they
point a gun
sent
at
her to
them, or-
negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fellow. And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader,
So has she met him or
upholding
not?
international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look
didn't
out
answer
for our
that question.
friends and not favor
Has she
our
met
enemies
him or
because
not?
you adore strong men
No,
instead of caring
I'm
about
lost.
democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is commander-in-chief. And the American people have a right to rely on a president who
don't even think she's
understands
answering
the
the question
significance of
anymore.
America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
We've talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate. I wanted to move on to Afghanistan.
Stoltenberg said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen. He's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you.
President
Otherwise,
Trump.
we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, and the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders.
Yeah, she said there are no
this
military men in
former
active
president,
combat zones
as president,
around the
invited
world.
them to Camp David because he does not again appreciate the role and responsibility of the President of the United States to be Commander-in-Chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations with the Taliban.
So if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, you know, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed.
Picture of his house.
We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo.
I just sent a picture of my house.
It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, it was we were getting out. We would have been out faster than that, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, 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 and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move on.
And these people did the worst withdrawal, and in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump, thank you.
Damn.
I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something, I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words, so I'm asking.
I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
I think it's, I mean, honestly, I think it's a
How does she feel about him
that
being
we
white?
have someone who wants to be president who
What are
has
these questions?
consistently over the course of his
What are
career
these questions? How do you
attempted to
feel
use
about
race
her
to
being
divide
black?
the
How
American
do you
people.
feel about him being
You know,
white?
I do believe that the vast majority
know
of
what this
us know
question
that we
is.
have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that
Tiger,
is just
how do you feel
constantly trying to divide us,
about
and
being
especially by
white?
race.
What?
And let's
Like
remember how Donald Trump started. He was land, he owned land, he owned buildings, and he was investigated because he refused to rent property to black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5. Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first black president of the United States. And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this, want someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people? knowing that regardless of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
President Trump, this is now your third time.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park Five, they admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden.
Damn.
The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad, and she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Your time is up, Lindsay.
I want to respond to that, though. I want to just respond briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country, one who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's talk about our plans and let's compare the plans. I have a plan to give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction, to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life, to help you in that most critical stage of your child's development. I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. That's the kind of conversation, I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling and name-calling. Let's
Were you watching the
turn
debate earlier?
Vice President Harris, thank you. Let's turn to policy. Let's turn back to policy.
We have to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy, please.
She has a plan to defund the police.
They're
she
all
has
just
a
liars.
plan to
Yeah, they're like,
confiscate
I have a
everybody's
plan.
gun.
No, I have a
She has
plan.
a plan to
I
not
got a
allow
plan.
fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
You've been watching
That's
it?
what her plan is until just recently.
I just need
Lindsay,
to
go ahead.
respond
No,
because
Trump,
the
President
former
Trump.
president has said
No, I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to respond
No,
to.
I'm sorry. We're going to move on, Vice President Harris.
To what he
President
has said
Trump, this is
multiple
now
times.
your third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable
He's
Care
losing
Act,
bad.
also known as Obamacare. You
How
have
can you
failed to
tell?
accomplish that. You now say you're
My
going to
first
keep
time.
Obamacare,
I
quote,
don't know.
unless we can do something much better.
How can you tell?
Last month you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this, I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up, they wouldn't vote for
not
it.
react.
I had a choice to make when I was president.
Yeah,
do I
like-
save it and make it as good as it can be, never going to be great, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and
Hello,
they're very good
Kimsey?
people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let
to
me
be
just
honest,
explain. I had a choice.
I only
to make.
pulled it up
Do I
because
save it
Tiger was
and make
saying
it
that the
as good
debate's
as it
up,
can be,
and I've never
or do I
watched
let
the
it
debate,
rot?
so.
And I saved it. I did the right thing. But It's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people.
I'm just
and
here.
what we
I don't
will
know.
do
Y'all are
is we're
watching.
looking at
I have
different
no clue.
plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money
For
and
real?
be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not
Just
president
the
right
things
now.
that they've been talking
But
about. I've just
if
been searching up.
we come up with something, I would only change
I've
it
just
if we
been
come up
searching
with
up.
something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that. And you'll be hearing about it in the not-too-distant future.
Vice President Harris, in 2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you
George
proposed a plan that
Washington.
included a private insurance
real.
option. What is your plan
Bring
today?
him back, guys.
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private health care options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, just look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was president, 60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time when I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain,
Why do you think
who
so?
you have disparaged as being, you don't like him, you said, at the time because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the Senate floor and said, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act.
Trump
You
is
have
known
no
for being
plan.
really reactive.
And what
I
the
don't know.
Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the
makes
ability
great,
of insurance companies to deny
know.
people with pre-existing conditions.
He makes
I don't have to tell the people watching tonight. You
like,
remember
really
what that
reactive
was like?
faces.
Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president, and we, over the last 4 years, have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it,
Vice
pass this
President
prologue
Harris,
in
thank
terms
you.
of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a
She
lot
made
of...
a mistake. At number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years. But it wasn't only him. It were all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money. But she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get.
President
People
Trump-
are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump, with
younger
regard to
voters?
the environment, you
Yo,
say that we
that's
have to
us.
have clean
That's
air and
us.
clean water. Vice President
I know
Harris,
about
you
this
call
one,
climate
guys.
change an
Climate
existential
change.
threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the
Gambling
former president
polls.
had said the climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of
gambling
losing
polls?
their home, having nowhere to go. We know that we can actually deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as Vice President over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been Vice President. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes
my bad, guys. I need to turn
growing
off those ads.
what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
That didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable. But we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates. An historic night, this ABC News presidential debate from Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
Betting odds are it. They don't like to lose. Guess I'm making easy money on Trump then. What do you mean you're going to make easy money on Trump?
The ABC News presidential debate will continue after this.
This PBS News presentation is made possible by
Consumer Cellular. This is Sam. How may I help you? This is a pocket dial. Well, somebody's pocket. Thought I'd let you know that with Consumer Cellular, you get nationwide coverage with no contract. That's kind of our thing. Have a nice day.
and by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you. Asking tough questions to those in power.
Should Democrats supply their votes if it means avoiding a government shutdown?
Russia right now has you outmanned, outgunned. Is it time to think about a settlement?
And covering events as they unfold.
8 soldiers died, the second deadliest attack on Israeli forces
What are you
of the
talking
war.
about?
See so many
Because
deaths
if
in
odds
one
favor
place in
Kamala,
30
then
minutes.
Trump will
PBS
be
NewsHour and
plus
PBS
odds.
News Weekend every night
And
on
plus
PBS
odds
and
give you
streaming.
higher return on the amount you put in. What are odds? What are odds? What does that mean? What are bookies? What are betting odds? Bro.
No cameras, no witnesses.
That was convenient.
Sports betting?
4 simple questions. What, why, and where?
You love them.
Is
That's
it
not you.
sports? Like sports? Betting money?
The stakes
I'm
have been
reading.
raised.
I'm reading. I read the whole thing you just said, and I'm still
I might give
lost.
you a think.
For sure, but it's not clear.
That's gothic.
Oh.
Welcome to the Oklahoma Delta. This is nature at its
They
absolute
bet.
finest.
This is crazy. This is a battle. That is powerful. Like a king. Oh my god. Oh my god.
I'm looking. I'm looking.
In the beginning, there have always been those of us looking for stories.
Okay. Okay.
This is a huge moment.
I feel like there's nothing around that can stop me.
It's your being. It's who you are.
We need to do something to make a change.
I know that there are people like me out there.
We need to have a voice.
It's what you do next that matters.
Okay.
You start to discover a deeper part of yourself.
Okay.
My whole world changed.
Is that all?
You can't have the United States without the histories of all of the Latino communities.
How did you learn how to gamble, Tiger? You go to Las Vegas on your day off or something?
Is so important.
I move and feel in my traditions and my stories.
We do what we love, we
No
respect
comment.
our loyalty.
You gamble on your day off or
We
something?
have changed U.S. history.
Sí, se puede.
We cover all the angles.
No
We
comments?
report the facts. We find clarity. PBS is here, delivering the credible, reliable, thoughtful election coverage you need to make informed decisions. PBS, your trusted election source.
Yeah, y'all gamble on your day off or something? Oh, it's back.
Live from the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Here again, David Muir and Lindsay Davis.
Welcome back tonight. The time has come for closing statements, and Vice President Harris, we begin with you.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward. But we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us, and we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families.
She keeps talking about
in
small
what we can
businesses
do
a
around
lot.
protecting seniors,
And
what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and
what's it
bringing down the cost
lower
of living.
ethnicities
I
that are,
believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a
real,
woman to make
yeah.
decisions about her
Populist.
own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now.
She also
Someone who
uses
cares
a lot of
about you
pathos,
and is
too.
not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump?
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs, and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it, and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack, we're not going to take fossil fuel, we're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia at the National Constitution Center. I'm Lindsay Davis.
And I'm David Muir. Thank you for watching here in the U.S. and all over the world, and from all of us here at ABC News. Good night.
And that is the end of the first presidential debate between these two candidates, Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. Also likely the only debate we will see between these two candidates. We have been watching alongside our full team of analysts and, of course, each of our reporters who covers the campaigns.
Because nothing happened.
Lopez has been reporting on the Harris campaign, and Lisa Desjardins on the Trump campaign. I want to begin with you two before we turn to everyone else here, and let's just get your quick takeaways. The candidates' work here is over now. The surrogates and the campaigns take over. What are you hearing from them in terms of how they saw the debate and their takeaways? Laura?
Well, Harris's campaign is feeling really good about this debate. They feel as though they did a number of things that she wanted to do going in, which was goad him, and she did that on quite a few fronts. She did that on abortion. She did that on election denialism, and they said also that in the first hour of the debate, 71% of the grassroots donations that they were getting were from women. So they feel as though some of her strongest moments were when she was going after him on abortion and when she was talking about those personal stories of women who were having miscarriages and unable to get the care that they needed. And they also said that based on the undecided voters that they were tracking live during the debate, that the campaign was tracking.
You agree with
that
what?
Another strong moment for her was her response when Donald Trump was questioned about her black identity and her saying that racism is a pattern for him and that America doesn't want this anymore, as well as her response to him on election denialism and January 6th. They said that ranked really well with the undecided voters.
Lisa, we knew that the Harris strategy was going to be to try to goad President Trump to going off script. What's the Trump campaign saying about some of those
The Trump
moments?
campaign knew that too. Former President Trump knew that. I will tell you, I have not heard from my Trump campaign sources, some of whom usually do text me back in situations like this. So that's a sign. The Trump campaign did put out an official statement declaring that Trump was the winner of this debate. There's been a lot of response when I posted that on social media. People saying they don't see it that way. But let's talk about
I wasn't
other
here when she was
Republicans,
talking about
Republicans in
abortion, so
Congress.
I have no
I just
clue.
got this from a Republican Senate source. They want to take back the Senate. They are very much in
Power
reach
to
of
the
doing
states.
that. Wrote me, I was in pain watching it. Imagine what Nikki could have done, talking about Nikki Haley. Trump just took the bait and missed the argument. When Vice President Harris talked about, for example, Wharton economists from his alma mater criticizing his economic plan, and then the size of his crowds really got under his skin, and you could see his tone and demeanor changing. Now, what Republicans in Capitol Hill really probably doesn't matter. What matters is undecided voters. And we've been following voters throughout this campaign. We talked
I don't
about it
know
during
enough
the last
either.
debate.
Yeah, for
One
real.
of them,
I just
Zach
heard
Horn
them
from
like
Pennsylvania,
going at each
Republican
other's
undecided
throat.
voter, texted me this.
And
He
usually
said, I've been
just
moving
picking on
toward
Trump, too.
Harris.
Trump.
Tonight's debate further confirmed that move toward Harris. He said, I am looking for someone to build a foundation of civility. Harris offers that. Trump does not. He says, tonight I could see her as a commander-in-chief. That's a big deal.
Well, let's bring in our panel of experts. We've got Amy Walter of the Cook Political Report with Amy Walter, Democratic strategist Amisha Cross, and Republican
Federal
strategist
ban?
Kevin Madden. Amisha, there was a question heading into this debate about how much Kamala Harris, the degree to which she would engage directly with Donald Trump, and how much would she really speak beyond the debate stage directly to the American people. She did both.
Yeah, absolutely. Kamala Harris had a high ceiling to clear and a very delicate balance because she is a part of the current administration. But she was also able to not only set herself apart, but to lean in on the policies that matter the most to the American people. She talked about the economy. She talked about the middle class. She talked about housing. She talked about women's reproductive rights. But she also attacked Trump hardcore. She went after him on statements about January 6th, what he didn't do and what he should have done. She went after him on a lot of the rhetoric that he's utilized over time, in large part the divisiveness, the darkness, the lack of a path forward, the way that he's trying to take America back. And she hit him hard on his own criminality. For him to start, radicalizing and talking about the tropes that he's issued in about migrants, but then to slam him down about the things that he's currently facing. I thought that was a really, really hard hit.
Kevin, your assessment of how the former president did tonight.
Look, usually at these debates, I have like a very complex analysis, right? Multi-layered analysis. I think mine is very simple.
They actually didn't teach me about
this was a clear case of a very clear strategy beating no
so
strategy.
for real, they didn't teach
The
me about
Harris
this. Public
strategy
schools.
here was so
Public
apparent
schools. They
from the
didn't teach
beginning,
me
which
about
is
this.
connect with swing voters on every single issue that matters to them as best she can. Housing, cost of
Was this
child
in middle
care.
school?
I think the
You were in
abortion
public
issue,
school
which of course we know is important to a lot of suburban
Texas
women that are
public
going to decide
schools.
this election. Also, bait Trump into talking about himself and relitigating his past grievances. Trump took that bait every single time. And
So
he
these are
didn't
the people
connect on a lot
above-
of issues. He did probably his best on immigration, but I will tell
No,
you,
he didn't.
I think for a lot of voters out there, it was less
Not to
relevant to
me.
their experience, and it was more about Trump
Not
being
to me.
agitated
I passed history
and
with an A. Thank you very much.
making it more about Joe Biden and what Joe Biden did wrong. So it just felt like there were a lot
Even
of
in
lost
college.
opportunities here
Wait, hold up.
for Trump to really fill in the
Did I take
blanks
US history?
with a lot of
Or did I take-
voters
did I
about
take
why
world
Kamala
history?
Harris would be sort of out of the mainstream.
Oh yeah, I
And
took US
instead, I
took
think what you're going to see
history
now
in
is a
high
strategy,
school, and they
and
didn't
we're
teach me
already
this.
seeing it. We're seeing a strategy of
I have
blaming
world
the
history.
moderators for sort of putting a thumb on the scale when it came to fact checks. And I just don't think that is going to connect. We got to remember, we're in like essentially what is a European version of a snap election. And the
I
compressed
forgot.
time
Hey,
schedule
I
means
passed with
that
an A
any
from the vote.
advantage right now
Can't
is
say.
really going to make a difference. And
Maybe I
I think
did, I don't
right
know.
now you have to say advantage Harris with swing voters.
Which is interesting because Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, you could
So what
argue,
that
Amy,
mean?
both came into
I don't
tonight's
know.
debate with the same goal, which is to try to find any edge they could.
Do you remember
to change
everything
the
that-
dynamics of this
that someone tells you?
razor-thin race? I saw you shaking
You
your head when
forgot
Kevin was talking about Donald Trump's
Then how do you
unforced
remembering
errors
it
and
now?
the missed opportunities.
Right.
Did you look it up?
So this was
Did you look
also
it up?
about trying to fill in the blanks for somebody
And
who's
that's
not
my
as well
point.
known, and that's Kamala Harris. And I think both sides.
you look it up
I've been saying this
recently?
for a while now. It's both a risk and an opportunity to not be as well defined as the vice president is. The opportunity for Trump in this was to fill in those blanks, make her attach her to the Biden presidency and to some of her past statements. He did that, but in a very scattershot way. I wrote down the first time he said Harris is Biden was 10:24 p.m. So
I
it
wrote
took
that down
over.
too.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It was an hour into it.
Do you listen to
Harris
this?
from the very
Do you listen to the
beginning was
after
on
or no? Or
offense
just
and
to the
making
actual
him the
presidential debate?
incumbent. When we
You
talk
listen to this
about
part?
voters wanting to see a change, she talked about turning the page. What is this election going to be about? I'm the one that's
No.
turning the page. He's the one back on grievance.
what is
so
this? Is this
she
like
did
a
what she
podcast
wanted to do to
for the
Kevin's point. She
presidential debate?
converted on the strategy that
podcast.
she had put forward. he was supposed to go in there and make this connection between Biden and Harris, make her look out of the mainstream. He was not as strong on that, in part because he was spending so much time either defending himself or, as folks have pointed out, relitigating past grievances.
Well, Lisa, to that point, and Amy's mentioning the issues here, like two of the strongest issues for former President Trump are the economy and immigration. And after the first set of questions on the economy, it was really the immigration issue he returned to again and again and again. He really didn't come back to some of those economic points that are relatively strong for Republicans.
It is interesting that Vice President Harris invited people to go to a Donald Trump rally, because I will say that watching him at many rallies, his argument on immigration in his rallies is more cohesive. It's easier to get your hands around than what he laid out tonight in this debate. It was fractured. He was sort of pulling at headlines that he had heard and didn't seem to understand, versus arguing a big picture about a border in crisis. He really wasn't able to make his own best argument, I think, on immigration tonight. He said a couple times, but when you listen to his remarks outside of this, usually you hear different, kind of, like I said, more well-strung together
Oh, there it
arguments.
is.
Now, I will also say one question we've all had is also about progressives and enthusiasm on that side. And I am in touch with my goddaughter, who's a college student. I'm getting texts that she's sending out saying that some skeptical progressive students, at least one that she knows,
BBC,
was actually
it's like more in the middle,
watching
and AP.
Kamala Harris tonight. And so that's also positive news for that campaign.
I want to get Laura's take, too, on the Harris campaign response to some of the points they wanted to work.
No,
Valuation.
It's only PBS showing up. I don't think they live streamed it. Did they live stream it or no? I don't think so. You don't listen to the news much, right, Redo? You don't really listen to the news much. Look, I was literally looking up things as they were talking about stuff. I was so confused. Oh my gosh. You weren't watching? You were watching the debate. What do you mean I wasn't paying attention? How'd you know that? How'd you know that? How'd you know that? Why were you watching me? Why weren't you watching the debate? You were watching the debate. Exactly. Exactly. So you can't say anything. No, I'm not. I can take myself off. I can take myself off of here. And that's that. I feel like this is like a FaceTime with everyone. Like, but you guys can only see me. Great. I was working on trying to make emotes for you guys. Do we go back to playing Valorant? Should we go back? Or you want to keep doing this? What is this? Yeah, play Val. Yeah, because I don't understand. I don't understand. Yeah. But it's skewing a little bit. Or is this the middle? Skews left, strong left, hyper Persian. Guess it is the middle. Ish. PBS. Okay, you want me to play Val? We X out of this now? Okay. Let me share my screen again. Okay. Okay. You're gonna take a shower? Ew, you're stinky. What? You didn't take a shower? Nasty. Stinky. Aww. Okay, we go back to playing Valorant. Let's play Deathmatch real quick, though. Stinky. What? Ew, you didn't take a shower? You didn't take a shower? I need to bring my Wacom tablet back from my back there. But let's go ahead and try and see if I can get back to silver. Stinky. Stinky, stinky, stinky. This whole time, you even took a nap. What? Wait, what? Yo, Tiger. Kimsey wants to take a shower with you. Heart go fast, Ferrari. Can I be on? Oh. Chat, that's Riz. For real. That is Riz. You want to take a shower with him? He's gonna buy you a car, too. If you keep rizzing him up, he'll buy you a car. You gotta keep doing it. Ooh. Oh, shoot. I missed. No. Why did they just crouch?
Whatever happens, Sasha,
should we do Phantom?
don't panic. Trembling is bad.
I already in the shower with him. I just came to take a break. Yo, that's crazy. We're gonna ask Tiger. We're gonna ask Tiger how that shower was when he comes back. Alright, keep taking a shower with him. He's probably enjoying it with you. Nah, he has dementia. He'll forget. What? He's gonna forget already?
Dominating.
He's really young to have dementia. What is the earliest you can get dementia, actually? What's the earliest age you can get dementia? I still have mod pizza left over. It's a special case. Let's bring it back to 0.29. Bro, I have 1 kill. I have 1 kill. No, they shot me in like 1 shot. Oh.
Satisfying.
Shoot, stop it. Stop it. Stop crouching.
10 kills remaining.
Oh yeah, who you think gonna be president? Who I think is gonna be president?
That makes 3. 5
Shit.
kills remaining.
To be honest, I don't really know. But my parents, they're going for a Trump. Shoot. Can I like? Nara! Nara!
Remaining.
Nara! Oh no. Y'all, I was at the 0 though. I was at 1. To be honest, they both suck though. They both suck. But like my parents keep talking about like, oh yeah, what's it called? Inflation. 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 You gotta go vote Trump. It's gonna fit the economy. But to be honest, I don't know. Because I don't really know much about politics. As y'all seen. I don't really know much about politics or anything. Do you recommend just looking on news sources and just reading off of there? Because to be honest, I'm so lost.
Match found.
I'm so lost. You should be play. Let's do Who do you think is gonna win? Kimsey? Who do you think? Gosh dang it. I need to put some on some lotion. My dry spots are acting up. What the heck? I got a bracelet right here. Do we think they're cute together? They all have an omen card.
Feels like Reina is after me
I feel like I haven't played this
Does
map
anyone
in
else feel that way?
so long.
No? That's me.
Oh. Hello.
Yo.
Oh shit, it's a guy. And they're meowing. Fuck. When I say shit.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Okay, we watch flank or no? I think we're probably gonna go A.
Placing sentry. Turret destroyed. Lights down.
Flooding them. Target mid.
Here. One down.
Shit. What is there, Sage Yui? What are you shooting at? What are they shooting at? What are they shooting at?
Unless Siege is involved.
Mate. Reina, you suck, dude. Meow. What? This person keeps meowing. What? Oh no.
Turret out.
Ah!
Spike
No.
down mid.
Wow. Wow.
Blocking fire.
I think our harbor is great.
Last player standing.
Wave crashing. Wave crashing.
Bro is stomping so
30 seconds
loud.
left.
Carrying spike.
He's stomping so loud. Like. Oh no.
Planted. Wall done.
No. Nice try. I'm kind of hungry. What is it, 10? I'm kind of hungry. Should I heat up pizza or no? It's from earlier today.
They look like us, but are they us?
Should I?
So many questions.
No.
Should I? Oh, this sucks. This gun fucking sucks, bro. Oh, never mind.